Okay, today is August 23rd, 2011. My name is Mary Larson. We're here with Mrs. Ann Hargis, the first cowgirl at OSU, to talk a little bit about Willham House and its history and your experience of the house since you've been here. I guess if we could start at the beginning, if you could just give us a little biographical information about where you were born and raised.
Oh, sure. I was born in Ohio, Middletown, Ohio, USA. And needless to say, moved before I learned how to talk because my accent is a Dallas accent. I was raised in Dallas and am a product of state schools. So I went to the Dallas Public Schools, and then I proceeded to go to college at my state college, which happened to have been in Austin. So I'm a graduate of the University of Texas and majored in math and Latin, which to me is interesting in that I did major in math and Latin, but since Burns and I married, nobody really asked that much about my educational background. Once we moved to Stillwater, it became my identity. So, you know, for 60-some years, it wasn't, I guess for 40 years, it wasn't part of who I was, but now it is a big part of who I am.
Well, how did you happen to choose math and Latin?
I started majoring in business, and I wasn't mature enough for economics. It did not sink in. And so I went back to my roots, and I actually had a roommate who was a physics major, and decided I loved math. And actually I was talking with a student this morning who's a math major, and I said, I went through college not even thinking that I was in college, because math was like working puzzles. It was like crossword puzzles in the library, and I'd listen to music and do my homework, and it wasn't like I was struggling, it was like I was playing. So I just took one course and then another course, and likewise did the same in Latin. So you see, I had very few electives, but I just took courses I was interested in at the time.
Well, and I took some Latin myself in high school, and it is very formulaic too. So
Yes.
I can see how it would parallel math.
Yes, it did.
Very nicely, actually.
Yes.
Okay, so you went to UT.
I did.
For college.
I did.
What did you do after you graduated?
Upon graduation, in those days, you either taught or were a nurse, and I did get a teaching certificate along with it. But as I graduated, I interviewed through the College of Engineering, and in those days, we didn't have job interviewing techniques, so I decided to use this major corporation as my guinea pig and go through their interviewing process so I would learn how to interview for a job. And it just happened to be IBM. So IBM kept calling me back for another interview and then did an aptitude test, and lo and behold, offered me a position I couldn't refuse. And so I became a systems engineer with IBM. And in those days, they were hiring females, and they preferred females who had an aptitude but had no previous training, so they didn't have to retrain. And so I was just in the right place at the right time.
How many other women were you working with at the time? I mean, what was the
ratio?
Percentage, do you think?
Very, very few. Very, very few women.
I would think.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. It was an exciting time.
Yeah, what was that experience like?
Well, I found myself as a college graduate being in charge of major accounts in Houston and feeling that I was way over my head. I mean, I was still calling everyone Mr. and Mrs., and I was taught not to do that, and it was not in my makeup. So it was an exciting time that I had to mature in a big hurry as, I think, a young single female in the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
So very rewarding.
Right. How long did you work there?
I worked full-time probably for 6 years, give or take, and then I worked part-time afterwards. Mm-hmm. So worked even after Burns and I married. I worked for IBM.
Okay. Well, since you bring up Burns, how did you folks meet?
What I love to say about the fact that Burns and I even met is we have been connected with OSU since the day we met. We met in Houston, Texas, around the swimming pool of my apartment complex. And Burns he lived in Bartlesville, but his parents had moved to Houston. And he came to Houston not knowing a soul, but visiting someone who lived in my apartment complex, who was, first of all, an OSU grad, and second of all, grew up in Stillwater, Oklahoma. His name was Tom Geis. And Burns came to see Tom also because of his roommate, who also was from Stillwater, OSU grad, named, now I'm going to forget his name, Belts. J. Belts. So Burns and I have always, and of all things, I had on an orange muumuu, which I never wore.
That would do it right there.
I know, it cinched it. So it's kind of comical that we've been on this track since the day we met, and now it all starts fitting into pieces. I mean, the pieces start fitting together.
It all starts to make sense.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So how long did you know each other before you decided to get married?
We met on June the 8th, 1968, and we were engaged the next Christmas and married on June the 8th, 1969. So he actually was in law school at the time, and I, of course, was working. So we were able to see each other probably every other weekend or once a month, and it would either be in Dallas or it would be in Houston, or I came to Norman, as a matter of fact, where he was in school. So we really didn't know each other that well when we got married, but we knew the basic things.
You knew what you needed to know.
We knew it was good. Yeah.
And you put in a lot of driving time.
Yes, and a lot of telephone time. I always say we had a telephone romance, basically.
Well, and sometimes, you can cut through things. If you're conversing more and you aren't doing all the social things that sometimes people do with all of their friends.
Right.
You get to know each other more quickly than you would
Could be.
if you had to be in larger social groups.
Could be. Yeah, and I think maybe that telephone line takes out some of the, you don't know, but I mean, it could be that you're just listening and you're really listening on the telephone and you're not watching body language or, I don't know, but it worked.
It seems to have stuck, certainly. So I know there's a lot of history to cover between when you first met in 1968 and when you first got here in March of 2008.
That's right.
But do you want to give us a brief overview of some of the high points?
High points.
Or
Married,
just the
2
trajectory.
children. How about just 2 children, a son and a daughter, both married with children, so we're grandparents. And in the process of that, I think I almost always worked part-time and was very much involved in the community. So have always been a volunteer. And as a matter of fact, our children used to play go-to-meetings. They never played house. They would grab the briefcase and go to meetings, if that doesn't give you some idea of what we were like as young married family. So basically in Oklahoma City, we lived our entire married life in Oklahoma City till we moved to Stillwater.
Okay. And did you and your husband have a conversation when the OSU presidency option came up?
Many.
What was
Yes, many. Well, I will say that Burns was approached for this job. He didn't exactly apply for it. And when he first started visiting with me about it, my initial reaction was, why? I mean, we had a sweetheart of a life. We had a very comfortable life. Everything was moving along very well, and we were very happy where we were. And the more the process went on, the more I realized that he really was the right person for the right time. So it was more like, why not? By that time. So we had moments initially, like, first of all, surely they'd never want Burns to do that, or surely Burns wouldn't want to do it. But I think the more he talked and the more people who visited with him about potential, the more exciting it became. So we haven't looked back.
Right, and he'd been on the Board of Regents, so he had some sense of what he was.
Oh, correct. He knew what the university needed. So, but
Probably
you know,
not.
he didn't come from within the ranks of a university, and so he had his hesitations about how he would be received, and you know, his ability to manage a major university through education. So he has attacked it as a businessman and a community person, and he's left the academics up to people who know more about the academics.
Well, he's certainly made a lot of inroads around here.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Well, that brings us to the house here.
Okay.
What can you tell me? You inherited the house essentially from the Schmidleys. I believe.
Exactly.
And you moved in, would it have been March of 2008 or a little before?
Burns was asked to be president in December
Okay.
of 2007. And someone else can get into the legalities of why he was not to become president immediately. And it had to do with the fact that he had been on the Board of Regents, and state law prohibited you after you had to be off the board for a certain amount of time. So there was a period of time where we were in limbo. He had been named, and the community assumed that he was, but he really wasn't. So it was like, what I used to call the house was before we got the keys to the house. We were allowed to come in the house and measure and take pictures, but we always had police escort, a campus policeman, and that was for legality. For it was totally understandable. But I called it before we got the keys. So when we initially knew that this was what we were going to do was in December, and we saw the house. You can imagine, with no green grass. I mean, it was sort of barren, and there was not even a salt and pepper shaker in the house. There was a grand piano. There was a table in storage that we knew we had, and there were mattresses on the floor. So starting from that point, we actually decided that we wanted the university to furnish the house, so that this home now has university furnishings. And when we leave, we will leave with nothing. So I think the furniture fits the house, and I think that it is a gift to the university. And it's the way I don't think we're the sixth president to live in the house, and I think previous presidents have always brought their own furniture. So we left our things in a home in Oklahoma City. And a lot of that is because when you think about it, there's a state legislature, there's a campus, there are future students, there are alumni, there are many reasons, state legislature, many reasons why there's business to be done in Oklahoma City. And although it's only an hour away, you'd be amazed at what long days there are. And that, by 9, 10 o'clock at night, it's just a lot easier to put your head down on a pillow in Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. So we make choices, and I jokingly call it traveling with bananas, because Burns likes bananas in the morning, and you get 3 days of bananas, and they're no longer good. So I usually just keep bananas with me, and if we decide to spend the night in Oklahoma City, I've got the bananas. If we're going back to Stillwater, I've got the bananas. So
you're set either way.
I'm ready with my bananas. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, what was the arrangement of the house like when you first moved in? I mean, obviously the layout was essentially the same, but
yes.
Were the rooms used the same?
I will say one decision we made was the original dining room to the house. We had not used, but heard that it became very claustrophobic when we had receptions. When there were receptions in the president's house, the room the ceiling is low, and it's a little congested, so people were sort of bottlenecked in that particular room. So we moved the dining room out into the major living area of the home and turned the dining room into a sitting room.
Okay, and the dining room area was?
Off the kitchen.
Off the kitchen.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the only change that I think we've made.
Okay, so most of the other spaces had been used in the same way.
Self-defined. Yeah, I would say the major entertaining area of the home is downstairs. And I think that the previous owner, of course, you'd have to talk to them, but it is my understanding they use the downstairs more as their private home for out-of-town guests and family. And we have it set up strictly for entertaining.
Okay. And I know when we talked to Dr. Willham, he had said that, that downstairs space had been used for entertaining when his parents were here. Not that they did a lot of entertaining, but when there were university events, like some of the annual breakfasts that were held, that those were held.
And I would say it's
downstairs then.
very confusing to me. I would like to have been a little fly on the wall to understand how previous presidents have entertained in his home. Because the home was built in 1960, and the kitchen is 1960 modern, but that being said, it had no microwave. In 1960, we didn't have giant economy size of anything, so most everything, the cabinet space is about the size of, I would say, a regular Campbell soup can. So there's very little room for catering in this kitchen. Plus, you have to carry everything on a tray downstairs. So we tried to entertain that way, and catering services were carrying trays of food up and down stairs all night long with congestion of people, bottlenecks. So we'll get into how we've redone that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But I'm just curious as to how anybody ever entertained in that predicament.
Right. Well, do you want to talk a little bit? We can discuss the entertaining a little bit now, if you like. I mean, or we can
put it together any way we want to.
Okay.
Whatever.
But since we're on that topic, we might as well.
Okay.
I'll discuss that.
I will say the home has evolved through the years. I think every time a president has been here, upgrades have been made, and at some point, bathrooms were made ADA compliant. And other features in the home have been. And with that being said, there's still one front door, and it's upstairs. There's no way to get downstairs unless you go across the lawn. I mean, there's no sidewalk there. Well, there was not.
Right.
And then I also mentioned the catering situation with the kitchen. There really was sort of a warming kitchen downstairs, but I think it was original to the house. I'm not sure. And we have since put in ADA compliant sidewalks, which helps not only those who need it for disabilities, but also catering can get their food in and out downstairs more readily. And the kitchen has been remodeled for that very idea. Now we can cater things out of a kitchen downstairs. And the caterers do not need to come upstairs. Everything is down there that they need. So it is really smoothed out the entertainment and the flow of this house.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to be courting disaster with people and trays of hot food on stairways with other people trying to come up and down stairs.
Yes, and then also when the entertainment's over, you don't have to cart everything back upstairs. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it has made a huge difference, probably the biggest difference in his home. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't here before.
Okay. When we're talking about changes that have been made either to the building itself or the grounds, you have the ADA compliant walkway.
Correct.
You have some changes to what used to be the warming kitchen downstairs.
Correct.
Is there anything else in terms of either the building or the grounds?
We have tried to be very mindful of our economic situation on this campus. And although the home is as old as it is and it needs some major repairs, we try to be very prudent with what is being done with the house. So we have done minor painting, taken some, well, I think I was going to back up and tell you before we painted, the bathrooms have been painted, warmer colors. All bathrooms were white. Fixtures were white, walls were white, everything was white. with no amenities. And one of the things I wanted to tell you, in a way I'm digressing, but one of the things that we love to do in using this home is treat it as kind of a living laboratory for the school. And we have done certain things with the housing design and marketing department through human sciences. And they have done a flow study. One thing they did was take the front door is sort of against the stone wall of the house, which is a little congested with people coming in and out. They did a flow of how people enter the home, where they go when they enter. It was a fascinating study. And we've used it somewhat. And then they also did a study, this is bringing back to the light painting, a study that if you wanted to participate in this study, you were asked to go into 2 similar bathrooms downstairs and just wash your hands, look at yourself in the mirror, and spend a little time, and then go in the other one. So you compared the 2, then you answered a questionnaire. What you didn't know was the study was being done on lighting. And we have a lighting expert on campus, Paulette Hebert. And she used her students to do a study of different incandescent lighting and the effect of people in those bathrooms. So that was a fascinating study. They also did, the same group did lighting studies of displays in the house, because I'm kind of skipping around, but this is how we use it as a working lab. We have an OSU grad who happens to be president of Madame Alexander Dolls. And a couple of years ago, she was being recognized on campus. And because of that, she shipped boxes and boxes and boxes of these wonderful dolls. So more than we could display anywhere. I believe the library has cataloged those. And we do have a display cabinet in the house of some of the dolls that we will trade out. But there was also a lighting study done on the lights in the cabinet where they're displayed and the effect of sunlight on the dolls and preservation of the dolls. So we have loved sharing the home with groups who do things like that. We've had landscape architect students do a study of a patio off the kitchen area of the house and do different studies of how it might be better utilized. So we had 17 renderings of how that could have been done. We've got art students who have done projects in the house and on the lawn. We've had 3-dimensional art on the lawn, which has been fabulous because the students have a public place to display their art, which is great, but we also get to add to the interest of the house and the entertainment of people coming and going in the house. So.
And I know you've had other exhibits too over time, because when I first came here as a new faculty member, when you had the reception here, there were chairs, chair models.
Yes, small chairs. That was the 3D art class as well. And those students took the smaller pieces and then turned around and did them in the lawn. So at one point we had like 25 different chairs out of a particular project, which I believe they were given a finite amount of lumber. And they had to design a chair out of that amount of lumber. I mean, some of the chairs had 3 legs. Some of them had, missing slats in the back. It was a great little project. So we also are having a class out in a couple of weeks to do a study on curb appeal. So we're always looking for ideas for students to come in and get to know the house and enjoy the house.
It sounds like basically you've made the President's House interactive.
Oh, we're hoping to, because it's what brings it to life.
Had there been, to your knowledge, a lot of projects like that previously?
I'm not aware of projects. I know the home has always been used for entertaining, for having groups in. But as far as having hands-on projects, I'm really not sure that I've heard of any. This just sort of evolved through conversations. And when we have groups in, I love to say that and also get some ideas for ways it can be used that we're not thinking about. I will also say, backtracking, when we arrived, of course, since there was no furniture in the house, there also was no artwork in the house. And so, consequently, all of the artwork in the house is from the permanent collection of OSU. And one of the very first parties we had was to invite people who made the home livable, and that would have been the electricians and the groundsmen and all the people who worked on the home came in to see the home, as well as the art department. And it was like I wouldn't say, it was fun to watch the faculty and students of the art department view their art, which they had not seen because it had been in storage. And so it was like a gallery opening. That was great fun. That was just great fun. So we also used the stairwell of the house to have an interchanged art exhibit of current students' art. So twice a year we go to a showing at the art department and select pieces to hang in the house for that semester.
How was the rest of the art chosen for the house? I mean, pieces that are downstairs and some of the faculty pieces that are
Chosen by the faculty themselves.
Okay.
And with our, if there were pieces that didn't work, and they are traveling pieces because some of the pieces will be used for some other reason. And like, for instance, Dole Reed has been displayed here in the house.
We were talking about the artwork here at the house and how it tends to circulate.
It
essentially.
will. Certain pieces, like we had some Rauschenbergs, and we've got fabulous art on this campus, were here long enough, and I think there was some concern that maybe they needed to be moved because of the climate. I mean, this is really not museum quality lighting and climate, so they have been replaced with other pieces of art. The Dole Reed project has taken many of the pieces that were in the house that were Dole Reeds, have been used for other shows, and so they've been replaced with other things. So it's kind of fun to change it out and enjoy different artists.
Right, and are there, you had mentioned Dole Reed, are there other university
Well-known.
faculty?
We have university faculty pieces in here, and we've got collections of different artists.
Do you think you're at liberty to say what your favorite piece is that's currently in here?
Oh, I'm very partial to a Jasper Johns that's in here. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, let's talk a little bit. Before we go past any of the changes that have been made, are there any other small things on the grounds?
Well, I was
that you've
also
been
going to
looking at?
point out the fact that Friends of Library have donated and decorated the bookshelves behind me. And also the Friends of the Hotel Restaurant Administration have done a similar bookcase in the breakfast area of the
Okay.
home. So that's got dishes that are used by ranchers and tailors and cookbooks and various items that are used there. So that's great fun.
Okay, so
And-
along with the other changing exhibits, you've got some of these as well, and the Madame Alexander dolls,
That's right.
which are remarkable.
That's
I mean,
right. Aren't they fun?
So I
Yeah.
did not know an OSU grad was currently.
Yes, Gail
Heading
Jarvis. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Tremendous asset to the university and a great friend. Turned out to be a good friend.
Now, we've been talking a little bit about how interactive this space has become, which brings up the question or the issue of this house as an extension of the university and all of the public and private spaces. Which rooms are which at this point, do you think?
Well, I love the question. Garth Brooks was in here. He said, I'm going to ask you a question I'm asked all the time. He said, do you really live here? And I said, yes, we really live here. I mean, you are in our dining room, our living room. This is the living room of the house, and it is our living room. So what I have found I would not have known before we held this position is that I believe what a president and his family needs is a separate, private area, not this large, efficient, because you're really not in it all that much. but a place to hang your hat, which is separate from the public areas. And I think the public areas, there again, are the front door of your university. And I think they need to speak for the university, how you feel about yourself and how you want to present yourself. So I feel that there's a lot to be done. I'll tell you another off the subject thing. I've decided in our lifestyle, we travel a great deal. And as a matter of fact, someone who is keeping track of this, we wouldn't have known this if somebody didn't say, for entertainment purposes, we are here an average of 10 nights a month. Now, in those 10 nights a month, we're entertaining about 6. We are not in this house by ourselves very often. But if we're gone 2/3 of the time, what do you think we're doing most of that time? Packing and unpacking. So I believe if you do a design purpose for a president of a land-grant university, the garage needs to be next to the master closet, because we are hauling luggage in and out of the house. It's never the same luggage twice because the situation's different every time you travel. So that will be one thing I will keep in mind if ever things are done with the president's house. And I truly would like to leave that for the next president. I would like for that next president not to come into such a shock as we did.
Well, at least the next president will have furniture.
Well, that's true too. That is true. And then we'll have the option of whether they want to bring their own or mix their own with what the university owns. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yes. And
okay.
Are there some private? I mean, do you, when you give a tour of the house, do you usually include the master bedroom or an office? Or
I never do. Well, I would tell you the president always would. I mean, he would open up his closet or his chest of drawers. He just is an open person. There is a master wing to the house, and it literally is a bathroom and a bedroom with a sitting area. Mm-hmm. I close that off for the general public. We also have a cat who is in that area, so I close Stella the cat into that area because I think there's some people who maybe would not like to have cats around. But no, the rest of the house is really open for visitors, and I will say as well, because the house was built in the 60s, how did we have bathrooms and bedrooms in the 60s? Our guest wing consists of a hallway. Off the hallway are 2 bedrooms, and off the hallway is a bathroom. So if we do have guests, overnight guests, they share a hall bath with the other guests in the other bedrooms. So it's not ideal in the 21st century, but that's what we have at this point.
And I get a sense from talking, say, to Dr. Willham, who was here when his parents were here.
Yes.
That obviously the responsibilities of land grant presidents have changed, and now fundraising and entertaining is so much more a part of the duties, so much more than it was previously. And this house was designed when entertaining was not a high priority.
That is very true.
And I guess that's reflected in the catering situation.
Yes.
And
yes.
the private versus public space.
Well, and I will say, too, I keep educating myself as to whenever you're out and you're entertained, you really don't need to know how the food was prepared or how it got to you, or as long as you're comfortable and the temperature is right and there's flow, you don't need to know what happens in the back room. But as far as one who does this, and I will say the other thing about this job, what has worked for us, and I don't know about other presidents, is that we literally sit down maybe 6 months out. We try to do it per semester. We have to use the calendar to book ourselves in this house in order to entertain. So we like to entertain at least 2 nights in a row. And then skip a week and 2 nights in a row. That's ideal. It doesn't always work that way, and a lot of times we have changes in the plans. But the entertainment has to do with your being here physically. and that is a big challenge. So we're still trying to figure out if there's ever a way that we can get all of that down to entertain at least 4 nights a month. And it usually turns out to be more, but those are 4 scheduled nights. And in addition to that, there are over 400 student organizations. I don't know how many faculty organizations, staff organizations, community organizations. There's no way to have an annual event in this home without slighting somebody. So I was trying to think of things we do yearly. It's different all the time, the variety of groups we've had in. But we have kind of tried to celebrate our outstanding alumni before one football game and have a brunch. But there again, it depends on when the game's scheduled. And then we also have a caroling, Christmas decorating event in the home, which is interesting on a college campus because we usually come back from Thanksgiving, go directly into Dead Week and Finals, so there's not that much entertaining in the home during Christmas, although we're going to start using the community because we can't really use students. But if the home's decorated, we really would like to entertain. So we're trying as well to connect with the City of Stillwater and use some of the civic organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, United Way, Rotary clubs, and have some community involvement as well. And I'll tell you, one of the most fun things we did was the very first night we moved into this house, we had a slumber party with our children and grandchildren. So we all came up and threw out sleeping bags and spent the night in the house, which is a great way to break in the house. But we no sooner pulled up than our immediate neighbors started ringing the doorbell. In like a small town, they brought home-baked goods, they brought little toys for the cat. I mean, this is a wonderful location and a wonderful neighborhood for this house. And so actually our grandkids connected with some of the children in the neighborhood. So I used to say when they came, we either had no children here or we had 8 children because they would go get the friends and bring them back. And we do enjoy sharing this house with the neighbors. So,
And I guess that lends itself to the question of how events are actually scheduled here. Do you folks, through the president's office and do you lay out the schedule? As you said, you try to lay things out, but do other groups try to make reservations to have things
we
here?
have not had that much
Okay.
of that. Now, through word of mouth and through contacts, like we did have the Rotary Club meet here, and that was during the lighting study that I told you about. A lot of that was to get some outside input for that, but also be able to use the home to say to the community, this is your home too. But normally, we really are so busy with the university. And there's so many groups we'd love to have in. And when you think about it, every year the group changes. So because you have the faculty council in one year, the next year it's a different council. And so it's very hard not to just say, we will do that every single year. But if we do it every single year, it's at the expense of some other group. So it's a juggling act we do every year. And we have lists of people we'd love to have, and we can't slot them all in.
So, well, it sounds like, if you folks are entertaining that many nights out of the month, you certainly have a full plate.
We do have a full
and a
plate.
full house.
Yes. And for any time that we are entertaining here, that means we're not doing something somewhere else. So when you think about how many activities there are on campus, which we also love to get a piece of the action of that and see, learn what's going on campus. If we're here, we can't be doing that too. So it's a juggling act, which we enjoy, but it's definitely time management. It is a challenge. Yeah.
Now, with the house itself, either with the public space or the private space, what room would you say is your favorite? I mean, do you have a place that just feels particularly
The home
cozy?
itself is built in a cross,
Mhm.
and that opens up 4 different areas outside when you think about it. So you can be on the east in the morning, or on the east and west in the morning and the east in the afternoon, however you like the sun. I will tell you, my very first morning in this house, to walk across, getting up a coffee, look out the window, the house faces east, right here,
Mhm.
and to see that glorious sunrise is probably one of my favorite memories. A first memory, but a favorite.
Mhm.
So, depends on the time of year. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just changes with
It
the
changes. It
seasonal.
changes with the time of day and with the season.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What about the grandkids? What room do they like?
They love the downstairs.
Mhm.
They absolutely love it downstairs. Yeah.
There's enough room for
Maybe
them
that's
and all
what
of their
it is.
friends.
And they can play under the stairwell. And yeah,
That's got good fort space.
it does. Good fort.
It has good fort space.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I haven't forgotten how to think like a 5-year-old. Although none of them are that young anymore.
No, they're getting older.
So
They're getting harder and harder to find time to get together.
So I guess let's talk about staff too.
Okay.
The issue of how you get staff from different places in the
how
does it all come together?
How do they do it? I would say we are an extension of the university, and as such, there is not an employee assigned strictly to this home. So it's a teamwork, and how they work it out, time-wise, effort-wise, and priority-wise, is beyond me. But for instance, the yard crew is the same crew that works on the campus. And so we share duties. We have event planners who also plan things through the U Club, plan other things on campus, and get caught up in the most incredible, oh, by the way, we have this unusual group coming in from this unusual country, and it doesn't fit under any particular category, so it falls on the shoulders of people who are sort of at large. So there's a team of people working as a team, and it's incredible how it all fits together. But it does. It's a great team.
Could you talk a little bit about who some of the key staff members have been since your arrival? Although I know people have been
shared,
so
and
it's
going.
it's
Yeah.
coming and going.
Yeah.
So maybe you do or don't want to get into that.
Well, yeah, I do.
Okay.
Okay. I will tell you an interesting situation that happened a little over a year ago, and we found ourselves with the person who coordinated events at the house, who was also in the president's office doing double duty, left, and so we needed someone, and we decided to go through part-time employment. And through part-time employment, we found someone who was looking for part-time work. Now, I don't know whether you'll be able to use this or not, but the job description read, needed part-time work 1 to 20 hours a week, must live within 20 minutes of the president's house, no guarantee. Well, what are you going to find for that? We happen to have found a young man who had just moved to Stillwater, who was way overqualified, who had, I think, 14 years experience at the Ritz-Carlton. And he took the job, he took the challenge, part-time wages with a family of 3 children, a wife and 3 children. And I guess he had savings enough just to let him do this for the pleasure of getting his foot in the door. But Jeremy Brown, and Jeremy has taken this house and entertainment to a new level. And he's brought sort of a 5-star approach on a minimum budget to the president's residence. And it has been very, very rewarding to work with him.
Okay. let's see, we talked a little bit about how events are scheduled. Are there any really memorable special events that you recall having here? I mean, I realize they all have unique qualities.
They do.
But are there any
Special
maybe
moments.
special moments, particularly interesting stories?
Well, of course, I loved the very first event we had to thank people for getting the house ready and to welcome the art department. I thought that was spectacular. I believe Easter time we tried for the first time to involve the neighborhood, and so we had jumping. What do you call those? What do you call those? Blow up jump.
Oh, the bounce house?
Bounce houses. We had bounce houses and Easter egg hunts and the Easter rabbit, and it was very, very fun. It was very successful. And of course, the president was running around in my little electric cart giving everybody rides, so I'm sure there were some parents going, what is he all about? But we had a big time. Yeah.
Okay.
That was great fun. And we have some events being planned that are a little unusual too, a little different. So there's always something out there that
Things
hasn't
to
been
look
done
forward
before.
to.
Yeah, something to look forward to.
Now, in analyzing the house, what would you say are some of the best points of the house? Are there things that work particularly well, I guess, as far as either the public area here, maybe with the view, or...
The setting of the house is phenomenal. As you approach the home, it sits on 7 acres of land, and there are over 100 acres behind the house, which is university-owned land, undeveloped. It's where our cross-country team works out and has, see, I'm losing I'm thinking of it. They have the competition. What do you call it when you have runs?
Their meets?
Meets, we can say. Cross-country team has their...
competitions.
They have... Well, good for both of us. But anyway, the cross-country team works out there and runs there. And it is a wonderful... You don't even know you're in Stillwater. You don't even know you're in Oklahoma. It's real hilly. There are horses back there. It used to be a golf course. I mean, it is great getaway place. Like I said, the neighbors are great. The home itself, I think what I would like to say about the home is I respect the fact that people who come here for the first time have a real sense of pride that I wouldn't take away from them for anything in the world. It's an honor to be in this home and to share it with other people. Physically, as it works, I think there are a lot of things that could be done, but as far as someone walking in the front door, it's a pleasure to see the look on their face.
What are some of the special features around the house? Because I know you've talked before about some of the cabinets.
Yes, I want to tell you about there's a graduate of OSU named Joe and Connie Mitchell. Came to the house, and he's another one who said, I went to school here, I've been an alum, I've never been in the house, and I'm an architect major. So as he walked to the house, he said, look at this cabinetry. Actually, he explained the whole prairie home architecture and the meaning of the beams and the meaning of the stone, and he brought the house to life. But what tickled me is as we walked down the hallway, he said, these units are the same units that they use in Kerr Drummond. They are dormitory units. They're the closets, the chest of drawers, and the shelving that go in the dorms. And they're in every room of this house.
And they're built into the hallway too,
There
aren't they?
are cabinets in the hallway. It's almost like who built the home, and that's why I think it'd be fun to find out who built this and how did they come up with the idea of putting, because I want to always preserve these cabinets. I just want to have them. They just have such history behind them. But there are 3 up and down the hallway of the guest wing, and each guest bedroom has its own. They're identical. they're like custom, not custom, what do you say, when you just factory units that
Sort of prefabbed.
if they were ordering for a dorm, they'd say, well, just order me 10 more units and I'll put them in the president's home. And I didn't realize that for a long time.
Well, I was going to say, they certainly look like they fit
They do
in
fit.
the home. I mean, they fit the architecture and everything.
Yes.
It's part of a piece.
Yes, it is.
But it also, it's good in that it ties this house directly back to the campus.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I say, too, because, I do work with some of the students as they move into the dorms.
Mm-hmm.
And as I watch them unload their things in their chest of drawers, I'll say, we have those same units in the president's house. It is great. It's a connect.
How many people can say that?
That's right. That's right.
Are there any other little special features or special touches around here like that are particularly noticeable or quaint?
The home still has the original telephone system in it. And it's the cord phone with multiple buttons. I could tell you maybe 20 buttons per phone. And when we were first touring the home, as I said before we got the key, every room has a special little cabinet, a wooden cabinet, and you open the cabinet, and there are these large, they look like office telephones from the 1960s. And I saw all these buttons, and I thought, isn't that strange, where you would hit a button to call, I guess, the kitchen, and one for the master bedroom, and one. I couldn't figure out what the buttons till the officer said, oh, no, ma'am, those are to call campus. Well, it hadn't dawned on me that this home was connected with the business. It's really part of the business. Mm-hmm. So I guess the buttons would, hook you up with the president's office and maybe with the admissions and the police and the hospital. I don't know what all. But anyway, it's kind of fun because they still exist. Don't know how to use them, but they're still here.
Have you ever tried them out? Just to
well,
see?
I do use the phone in the kitchen. I've used it because you dial 8 to dial out.
Is there an intercom system in the house?
Might be, but I've
Okay.
never used it.
Okay.
Don't need
I
to.
didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't- haven't had occasion.
No.
Okay. Well, are there any other recollections or stories about?
Let me check and see if there's something I had. I just took a little note that I wanted. I think I pretty well covered it. I think there are other people that will be talking to you about the size of groups that we entertain, and we can seat about 50 downstairs. We'd like to be able to have larger seated dinners downstairs. And we can handle maybe 70 standing upstairs. So that's the extent of the group. If it gets larger than that, we're sort of bound by the size of the house. But we would like for it to be more versatile for different groups.
So overall, I guess just to wrap up, what would you say your future goals are? I know you're trying to make this more interactive and try to make it a larger part of both the university community and the larger Stillwater community.
Yes.
But what's your grand plan? I mean, what do you have? If you had your druthers, what would you like to see for this house?
Well, I would love for the home to be a monument to what it is on this land. I would like for it to be of use. Whether it is redesigned for the 21st century or whether it is used for a faculty house or a gathering place, or I believe it has a history all its own, and I want to preserve that history. Whether it's the president's house or not, I don't know. Now, that being said, when we first got here, because the history, I think you'll find that the Board of Regents has said for over 15 years that something needs to be done about the president's residence. And it's one of those things, yeah, great, go ahead and do it. You do it, no, you do it. But when we first arrived, we said we wanted to be on campus, and we wanted to connect with the students and the faculty and staff. So we had a whole group, a committee, who looked at different locations on campus. And we actually there is a layout of the university as it sits today, a three-dimensional layout. It's got all the sidewalks, the trees, the buildings, and everything. And we had a fifth-year architect student who had a rendering of what could possibly be a president's house, however large, and held it in her hand and would take that building and put it down on campus. And you could turn the door, to open on the north or on the east. And then everybody would stand around and say, well, you can't do that because it blocks Old Central. Okay, well, we'll move it somewhere else. Well, we checked about 11 different locations, and they all had drawbacks. So we decided to really study before we would eat up any more green space on campus. At which point I came up with the idea that I wanted the president's residence to be on the top floor of the student union. But that's not going to happen, as you can tell, with all the renovations being done. That won't happen. So what we've done is come back to this particular area because there's a lot to be said about not spoiling what we already have going for us on campus. And also, I hope that we've realized you can become a huge part of this campus without actually living on campus. So we are very involved on campus physically, and don't feel that there's a need. Plus, in doing research, many university presidents are moving off of campus. And so we want to respect the wishes of the next person who comes along and the next, and not make a decision for them that they have to live with.
And as the university moves north, too, you're getting closer to it without having to go anywhere.
Well, when you think about it, when the home was built in 1960, it was built a mile away from the north end of campus, which was the library. And look how far the campus has already moved north. So we're less than a mile away from campus.
Right, and as the athletic area builds out, it's going to be closer and closer.
Right.
So pretty soon you'll be 2 blocks away.
Well, that's true. That's true.
We wanted to talk a little more about the event planning and some of the folks that were involved with that, because there's a particular group, I guess, that's
One
important.
of the key things that make things happen around this house, and no matter what the president does, is a group of junior and senior students who volunteer their time. They're called the President's Partners. And we try to have probably 2, depending on the size of the group, representatives of students at every event, which again connects us back to the fact that we're all here because of the students. Without the students, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. And it also gives those students a chance to interact with some of the guests that we have in this home. So they volunteer, they greet people at the door, they kind of handle things as things need to be handled. If it's raining, they carry umbrellas and walk people out to their car. We also use the President's Posse at the President's Suite at football games, or if we have any event on campus, they are a willing group of participants. Needless to say, they're outstanding students, or they wouldn't be part of this group too.
Mm-hmm. And that gives them some experience too in understanding how people entertain
exactly
at a certain point.
Exactly. And it looks good on their resume.
Mm-hmm. So do you, is it mainly their junior and senior year? Is it for one semester or 2 semesters?
For as long as they want to. And frankly, we have some who want to be at every event. It's really kind of fun. And some that we see very seldom. Mm-hmm. But they are members of the Student Association. It might be the Student Government Association. I need to find out. Student Alumni Board. They're members of the Student Alumni Board. And so there again, they are participating on campus. And it is typical of so many things in life. You see the same students who, your top 10 seniors, well, they're all President's Posses, but they're in so many other things too. So we will see them on campus a lot of times in different groups that we visit.
So once someone comes in as a junior, you may see them a lot for the next 2 years.
That is exactly right, yes. As a matter of fact, we were over at Kerr Drummond today just greeting new students. And one said, I'm a new president's partner, so she's really excited about being part of that group.
And do you know how students become part of that group? Is it something they apply for?
They have their own selection committee out of the applicants.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know how many there are, or how many you may see on it?
I bet we have 20 to 25
Okay.
on any given year. So, and when you use 2 each, it's a good group, and they're very busy.
Well, and I'm sure that's a help to you handling a lot of these receptions.
It's a help
and
to
the
us, but it
entertainment.
also, there's a great sense of pride when you're able to say, a lot of times, like at the football suite, when you have invited particular people for particular reasons, and when you can say, this is a student, majoring in microbiology from Wewoka, it connects people, and you will see a lot of times your Board of Regents exchanging business cards, or it's just a wonderful way for the students to connect and for alumni and faculty to appreciate what we have on this campus.
And if you bring the community in, for members of the community to get to know what fine, upstanding
Absolutely.
students
Absolutely. Yeah.
we have.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Is there
Oh,
anything
thank
else
you.
that we forgot about that
I'm just
you need to go
thinking.
back and
Just
okay.
just give me a call if you think of something.